She's so pretty, just like a real-life Barbie. I wish my hair was as shiny and blonde as hers. This is what people think of me. But all I ever wanted was just to be a normal teenage girl, like everyone else. You see, ever since I was little, I stood out with my platinum blonde hair and turquoise eyes. People have always said I look like a Barbie. Hey, some of them even call me Barbie. My mom's always been super proud of my looks. She used to put me in princess dresses and sign me up for kids' talent shows, which I more often than not won. This led to media attention, and soon I was invited to model for some big brands. Back then, I was super excited about this. I loved all the praise and pampering, but unexpectedly, it was that early fame that made me gradually lose my freedom. Nora, go get dressed, quickly. I'm not showing up late for Anna's party. Yes, Mom, I replied as I reluctantly grabbed the clothes my mom had laid out on my bed. Nora, your natural hair is so beautiful. Before I even had a chance to reply, Mom was in there bragging about my natural blonde hair. Natural? Yeah, right. So it has nothing to do with the fact Mom makes me bleach it once a month? She made a huge deal a few months ago when she noticed my hair beginning to slightly darken. Then Mom dragged me from person to person, boasting to them about my achievements. Ugh! This was so tedious. So, when she was absorbed in convo with some guy, I sneaked over to the food table and grabbed a slice of cake. I was about to put it in my mouth when suddenly, from behind, my mother's stern voice resounded. Nora! Put that down this instant! Huh? It's just a small piece of cake. I was hardly going to balloon up after eating it. Then, without giving me time to argue, she snatched it out of my hand and said, Eat that, and you'll have to skip dinner and do cardio for 1 hour to burn all those calories off. Do you still want it? Geez, there's no point arguing with Mom. So I grabbed my drink and went to the corner of the room. I was fiddling with my glass and feeling totally fed up when suddenly a guy came up to me and almost caused me to spill my drink. Oh my God, it's Philip, the hottest teen model in the scene right now. Sorry, are you Nora? I've heard a lot about you, but why are you standing here all alone? It's because I'm not really into parties like this. So we're the same. Then we started chatting, and before Philip left, he asked for my number. After that, he texted me every evening. Talking to him was so much fun. He was just so sweet and thoughtful, and he always sent me the funniest memes. How cute! One day, while we were chatting, he texted me, Can I invite you to dinner? Let's say tomorrow evening. Was he asking me out on a date? Yay! But I had to ask Mom's permission first. Mom, do you remember Philip, who we met at Anna's birthday party? Can I go to dinner with him tomorrow? Sure, I'll drive you there. No need, Mom. Philip will pick me up. No, I said I'll take you. No matter what I said, Mom still insisted, and if I didn't follow, she wouldn't let me go. Jeez. This was a date, not a fashion show that required a manager. The next evening, as soon as I walked down the stairs, my mom was at it again. Oh my, what are you wearing? Before I had a chance to reply, Mom pulled me into my room, took out a bodycon dress, and said, You put so much effort into looking this way, so you may as well flaunt it. Besides, dating this boy could bring business deals for us. Gosh, I get it now. All this was just about fame and money. There Philip was. I quickly fixed my hair, then I confidently walked towards him. But when I had just sat down, before I could even greet him, out of nowhere my mother appeared and asked the waiter to arrange another chair for her. Philip gave me this bewildered look, but I didn't know what was going on either. Mom, what are you doing? We've always been together. You don't mind if I sit here, do you? No, not at all. Philip smiled awkwardly. Ugh, this was so embarrassing. When the waiter appeared with the menus, I was actually glad of the distraction. But, oh no, I didn't even have the chance to open the menu, but Mom had already finished ordering for us both. It gets worse. During dinner, my mom kept asking Philip questions like, "What do your parents do?" "Oh, they only run a small business. I thought they were the presidents of a corporation or business." "I was just asking." A flustered-looking Philip made up some excuse about having to do something. Then he left. That's it. Thanks to my mom, my first date completely failed. Frustrated, I left right after he did. I didn't say a word to Mom for the whole journey home. Things didn't end there, though. When we arrived home, she kept nagging about how I shouldn't hang out with Philip, as he wouldn't be of any use to my career. Don't you think you're being too much? I can date whoever I want to. You know what? I don't want you to be my manager anymore, and I'll be moving out on my own. Then I rushed back to my room and started packing. "Honey, I was just worried about you. I'm sorry," she said and hugged me while sobbing. "Please, don't leave me like your dad did. I can't live without you." Hearing that, my heart fell. She was right. Ever since Dad left, there was only her taking care of and loving me. She's a bit tough and over-controlling, yet she meant well, right? I texted Philip a few times to apologize, but he didn't reply. "Nora, look straight." "Nora, where has your charisma gone?" "Let's take a short break." "What's going on? You seem distracted today." I sighed and started telling Eleanor about my date with Philip. "Gosh, your mom's a total control freak. You need to be strong and stand up against her to win your freedom." Well, of course I wanted freedom, but where should I start? Suddenly my phone beeped and stopped my train of thoughts. It was Mom. "Honey, Anna's sick, so I'm staying at hers tonight. Dinner's in the fridge, and don't forget to go on the treadmill an hour before bed. Love you." Yay! Tonight I'd be free and do whatever I want. So suddenly, I came up with a brilliant idea. Yes, I was going to have a slumber party. Eleanor suggested we should order pizzas, and of course everyone excitedly agreed. So good. Suddenly, the door opened. My eyes widened in horror when I saw that it was my mom, and oh boy, she looked furious. "Nora, what on earth are you doing?" And you can guess the rest. She made all my friends leave, and worse, she forced me to wake up at 5 a.m. to work out. All this just because of a bite of pizza. Eleanor was right. I needed to put a stop to this by finally standing up to her. This is unbearable. So, as a stress reliever the next day, I decided to do something I always wanted. Wow, it's so cute. I know, right? It feels good to do what I want for a change. "Nora, why are you here? How come you didn't answer any of my calls?" Startled, I turned around to see my mother standing there glaring at me. I quickly covered the tattoo on my wrist with my other hand, but it was too late. "Nora, how dare you get a tattoo without my permission? Get back in. From now on, I'll make decisions about my own life." Everyone on the street stopped to look at us. Seeing that, Mom just glared at Eleanor, then dragged me over to the car. But how did she know I was at the tattoo studio? Right at that moment, my phone buzzed with an unknown AirTag device nearby. Wait, could it be? I quickly checked my stuff, and oh my God, it's true. Mom had stuck an AirTag into a hidden corner of my bag. "Why did you attach an AirTag to my full tattoo?" "As soon as possible, you're getting it removed." "I'm 18. I can do what I want." Eleanor was right. You just want to turn me into a puppet to control. I knew it. "Nora, I forbid you to hang out with that girl." Pulled me into my room and locked the door. "You can stay there until you see sense." I banged on the door and shouted till my voice was hoarse, but it was no use. 3 days passed. Mom still brought me food, but she refused to let me out. Oh no. Did she want to keep me here forever? I hurriedly called Eleanor for help, but it didn't work. Why didn't she answer the phone? Then suddenly I saw an article for a debt spot for a famous designer's upcoming show, and that model was me? Impossible. That did not happen at all. And I have not been in contact with the press. Then a thought crossed my mind. Mom? That's right. As my manager, she must have said this to the media to defame Eleanor. Meanwhile, Eleanor must think it was me who did all this. Ugh, no wonder she was ignoring my calls. Angry and disappointed with Mom's behavior, I decided to confide in my Twitter. Unexpectedly, after only 20 minutes, my post was shared quickly and the hashtag #RescueNora was at the top of the search. But then my mom angrily came in and confiscated my phone. Don't expect someone to come here and save you. The next morning, I was awoken by loud noises from outside. Huh? What was going on? I went to the window and saw a crowd of people holding signs saying "Free Nora" and "Let Barbie out." But wait a minute. I spotted some familiar faces. Eleanor and Philip. They were holding a big sign saying, "We want to see Nora." I was grateful to the people who supported me, especially Eleanor and Philip. Thanks to them, I decided to move into my own place. As for my mom, I want to forgive her, but it's hard. I just hope she realizes what she did was wrong. Then we can try to rebuild our relationship. Oh, and one more thing. From now on, I won't bleach my... It may affect my modeling career, but so what? It's my natural hair, and I like it. Anyway, as you can see, life's good, as I have my BFF Eleanor and my boyfriend Philip by my side.
Hey, Milo here, and let me tell you something about love. Well, love totally sucks. At least that's how I felt after my cheating ex Deanna broke my heart. Ouch. Deanna's 16 months and 15 days older than me. Not that I was counting or anything. I first met her in the park one morning. The heel on her shoe had broken, and being a sucker for a damsel in distress, I ran to the nearest store and bought her an emergency pair of flip-flops. She offered to take me out to lunch to say thank you. Then we hit it off. And that's how we started dating. We quickly fell madly in love despite the age difference. But then she had to go off to college. But it would just take a year being apart from each other because she'd made me promise to apply to the same school as her so we could be together. The future sounded amazing. I couldn't wait till graduation and start a new life with her in a new city. It was our 10-month anniversary, so I tried to be romantic and showed up at her place with a surprise bunch of flowers. But that's when I caught her in bed with some college guy. Talk about a bummer. I actually think I felt my heart snapped in two. I was so angry, I threw the bouquet to the ground and didn't forget to stomp on them a few times on my way out. So I took the train home and turned into that miserable guy who hates love. To make it even worse, Valentine's Day was approaching and loved-up couples were everywhere. Ugh, what a disgusting sight. If I couldn't have a happy Valentine's Day, then neither could anyone else. So I decided to mess with them. My friends were the money-making kind, so naturally, they wanted to cash in on the day of love. If your heart is still intact, then you have no idea how much it sucks feeling heartbroken and being surrounded by chocolates, flowers, and fluffy teddy bears holding hearts. But I'd already agreed to help them as I figured I could spend the extra money on a gift for Deanna. But obviously, this was pointless now. I'm not the kind of guy to bail on my friends. So that's why I ended up in the park with a pull cart full of soppy items. Ugh. There were gooey eyes couples everywhere. I didn't know if I wanted to vomit or scream. I saw a couple walking toward me, so I decided to make this more interesting. Hello, sir. Can I interest you in a beautiful bouquet of roses to show your lovely mother here how much you love her? He stared at me in confusion and clumsily said no, while the girlfriend glared at me in anger as they're walking away. She kept hitting her boyfriend's arm, asking in an annoying girly tone, "Why didn't you tell him I wasn't your mom? Do I look that old? I can't believe this. You didn't even correct him." And then the guy had to calm her down in despair. Priceless. After that, I said it to every couple that came up to me. But then one of my friends noticed that I was chasing customers away with my dumb jokes, so she kicked me off the project. Oh well, it beat being around lovesick couples. So the day after, I had no schedule and was sitting in my bedroom watching an action film that had no romance in it and minding my own business when my sister barged into my room and told me that I had to babysit. Our parents decided last minute to go out of town. So seeing as my sister's still dating in secret, her and her boyfriend thought that this was the perfect timing for them to hang out. Of course, I didn't agree to babysit, but she led the little kid into my room, said to me, "It's not like you have any Valentine plans anyway." Then she ran off. This little brat. Unlike my sister, I wasn't just going to abandon some little kid. So I begrudgingly took her to the mall and bought her an ice cream. When she finished that, she started whining at me that she wanted candy. Ugh, yawn. Kids are draining. Looking around at all the loved-up couples, I had a eureka and said, "Daddy, let's go home. I miss Mom." Turns out, she's a little daredevil, and she did it without question. Watching the shocked look on their faces was priceless. After a while of doing this, I bought the kid candy as promised. We sat on the bench laughing while thinking back on our achievement. We had so much fun. Then, I spotted a girl who'd turned me down in middle school. She was there with some guy. I quickly told the kid to hide behind the bench and winked, "Watch and learn, noob." Then I marched up to them, grabbed the guy's wrist and yelled, "So, is it because of this girl that we had to break up, you heartless swine?" Then I ran off pretending to cry. I hid behind the bench with the kid. Both of us laughed our heads off and ate candy as we watched the couple fighting in confusion. After a while, I dropped the kid back home. Then I went back to mine. Through the window, I saw that my sister and her boyfriend had already been back from their date and were saying goodbye outside. So I sneaked a pic of them. I couldn't wait to blackmail her with that and demand her to pay me extra money so that our parents wouldn't know about them. I waited in the living room with a smirk on my face. But 10 minutes passed, and she still hadn't appeared. I looked through the window to see them kissing, for like the zillionth time already. Ugh! She clearly didn't spare a thought for her heartbroken brother. So, I decided to be Cupid and grant them their wish. I raced outside with a big roll of duct tape and ran circles around them as I stuck their heads together when they were kissing. Now that is the best way to de-stress. I felt much lighter with every lap I ran. They both screamed out and tried to pull free, but they were well and truly stuck. So I left them there to untangle themselves and I whizzed off. The next morning, my sister gave me the most furious look across the table during breakfast. I swear there was fire in her eyes. But too bad she couldn't do anything to me as Mom was right there. I could even see a little bruise on her forehead as a result of my prank. I had to try so hard to hold my laughter. I felt this tingling feeling between the thrill and satisfaction, which made me totally forget about my failed relationship. I got such a kick out of messing with people's perfect love lives. And so I continued with my pranks on unsuspecting couples. Then, one time I walked up to a couple in the street and said to the girl, "Why are you here? Didn't you say you're working overtime? Can't I trust you anymore? I'll be home waiting for your explanation." Then walked off while giggling. But this time, a hand suddenly grabbed my shoulder. Then as I turned around, the guy punched me. Then I passed out. Talk about embarrassing. I woke up dazed and confused on the sidewalk with this cute girl looking down at me. The guy had left, thank goodness. The girl seemed so relieved that I'd woken up, and she kept telling me that I must have mistaken her with someone else because she didn't know me at all. I was too embarrassed, so I had to nod in agreement. She called a taxi and helped me get home. On the ride, she apologized because her boyfriend had a short temper, and they were already arguing at that moment. She told me her name was Vanessa. Then we switched contact. We started spending lunchtimes together. She bought me cheese fries and gave me her delicious homemade cookies. She said she wanted to make it up to me. We unintentionally grew closer, and the next thing I knew, I found myself really fond of this girl. But she's taken, and it's with a jerk. She told me all about her boyfriend. He's called Kane, and he went to a different school. Thankfully. She said he was a sweet guy, but sometimes he lashed out, and one time, he even hit her. It's clear her boyfriend's a doofus, but she was too blinded by love to see it. I wanted to whisk her away and show her what being with a good guy was really like. But to be honest, I was scared of being beaten up by him again. I opened up to her about my ex and how she messed me up. Vanessa listened and never judged. I felt so at ease being around her. Then one afternoon, I saw her in the hallway after class, and it looked like she'd been crying. So I went up to her and said, "Vanessa, are you okay?" She forced out a smile and replied, "Yeah, it's just boyfriend stuff." That's the moment when I decided that enough was enough. Scary boyfriend or not, no matter what it takes, I had to tell her my feelings and save her from him. I offered to drive her home. Then I planned to confess my feelings to her on the way home. But to my annoyance, she said it's okay as her sister was picking her up that day. Then she waved goodbye to me and ran over to a car. Wait a minute. I knew that car. Her sister, the girl in the car. That was my ex. Talk about a dilemma. How on earth did this happen? I swore to never see my ex again. I couldn't bear the thought of breathing the same air as her, but now I had a crush on her sister. Help! To make it even worse, I've told Vanessa all about how much I hate my ex. How can I let her know that the ex in question turned out to be her sister? Help me. This is so crazy, and I have no idea how to wriggle my way out of this one.
Oh God, my Roger. Look at him. Those chiseled features and dreamy eyes. No wonder every girl swooned at the sight of him. And, of course, me, his biggest fan, is no exception. You're probably wondering how I got into the backstage area of a star actor like happens to be my big sister. Of course, I had to beg her for days to let me tag along. Hey, are you taking pictures of me? Oh no, busted. I was selfie. Here you go, baby girl. Next time, just ask. Oh my, there's no denying that Roger is boyfriend material. The girls from my class will definitely be turning green once they know this. Oh, he wants some orange juice? No problem, Roger. Just call me your own personal genie. Then I rushed around to find some OJ and hurried backstage to give it to him. But too late. His other fangirls had beat me to it. There were enough juices for him to drink all year round now. Sadly, I turned around to leave, but accidentally bumped into someone. Holy moly, it's Roger! He smiled at me and looked down at the cup of fresh orange juice in my hands. May I borrow your OJ? This is my number if you need it. What does this mean? Have I, an ordinary girl, caught the eye of the hottest guy on the planet? Ouch! This is clearly not a dream. For the rest of the evening, I tried composing the perfect message to him. Ugh, why was it so hard? I must have typed and deleted it at least 100 times. Oh no! I just pressed the send button by accident. Before I could remove that message, he already replied. That's it. There's no turning back now. I tried to calm myself down and went with the flow, which then led us to hours of long conversation. And soon, we were talking every day. One day, out of the blue, he said he wanted us to have a private date. Does that mean our relationship has moved on to the next level? Our first date was at this low-key diner with very few customers. I disguised myself just like what Roger told me to and waited for him. But it's been an hour in vain. Did he really stand me up? I glumly got up to leave when a sweaty, out-of-breath Roger appeared. Turns out he struggled to lose his security guards just to come and see me. Aw, it's so sweet that he went to all this effort for a normal girl like me. No need for a fancy restaurant nor extravagant gifts. This diner was already the most romantic, as I had a real gentleman right here. Don't wake me up from this dream ever. Then, before we parted, he gently put a daisy bracelet on my wrist. Dating in secret is pretty exciting, right, babe? Oh boy, this proved that I was no longer just a mere fangirl having a crush on her idol. Yep, we were officially dating in secret. The next day, I arrived at school in the best mood ever. I was singing on the way to class when my friend Alba startled me. Hey, have you watched the new trailer for Roger's upcoming film? It's dope. I booked a ticket for the sneak show already. Pfft, that's nothing. I already got a slot at the movie premiere. Jealous much? Huh, that's the power of a fan club's vice president. And for me, I just had the most romantic dinner date ever with Roger. Oh, of course, that's only what I wish I could say. In fact, I could just smile and then head on to my seat. Keeping this secret is driving me crazy. But I guess dating an idol comes with a price, and I don't mind paying for it my whole life. But okay, on top of all the secrecy, as y'all know, celebrities are always occupied, having no private time left. So we have to come up with inventive ways to get some alone time. Finally, Hannah had left. Let's see, hair, makeup, clothes, everything was perfect. No one seemed around. Now I needed to hurry to Roger's van. Hey Hannah, why are you still here? Wow, look at you, all dressed up, huh? What's the occasion? I just forgot my stuff. See ya. And then I rushed behind the vanity van. Phew, so close. It's a good thing I look a lot like my sister and have picked up some great makeup tips from her, so it's a piece. Let me see if you're my adorable Harper. While praising my excellent disguise, Roger suddenly went silent. Then he turned into a completely different person. His attitude changed. He pushed me away, poured his coffee onto his shoes, and started yelling at me. What on earth are you doing? Do you know how much these cost? Clean them! What just happened? I reached my arm out and asked if I'd upset him, but a woman swung my hand away. Take your filthy hand off my son! Oh, it's Roger's mom, a bossy lady who always caused others difficulties. Worse still, the buzzing sound outside also started growing louder. Oh no, I better not cause any trouble here. So I kept my gaze at the ground and frantically apologized. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my arm and pulled me away. It was Danielle, Roger's manager. Don't be bothered too much if he acted a little off. He was just too stressed from work. I'm Roger's older sister, by the way. We were super close, so I understand him better than anyone. OMG, I didn't know he had an older sister. But I know about you. Every time he sees you, his eyes fill with happiness. It's kinda obvious. You don't have to say anything. I'll keep your love story a secret. It turned out that Danielle knew everything and didn't say a word because she knew it would embarrass us. After that, she drove me home and we exchanged numbers. Roger wasn't being very responsive, so it was nice having Danielle to talk to, as she was very supportive of our relationship and kept me up to date with the schedule. A whole week has passed since that day with no reply from Roger. Nothing. Not a single phone call. I also texted his new phone number that Danielle gave me, but still zilch. Sometimes I don't know if I really have a boyfriend or not. I just want to experience what other couples have. Stop wasting your time fantasizing about a guy far out of your league. It's so tragic, especially now he has a girlfriend. He's totally betrayed us. What did she just say? Girlfriend? I hurriedly went online and saw a photo of Roger and Jessica, a hot singer, looking cozy backstage. So he was ghosting me to be with her? My heart felt like it was going to burst into flames. I immediately texted Danielle, and she replied straight back, complaining that she was also having a headache with Jess's dirty PR tricks to promote her new album. Oh, phew. So it's just a silly rumor. What a relief. Besides, for the past few days, Roger hadn't contacted me at all because he'd been busy filming a new movie in Paris. He would be back soon, and he was gonna hold a small meet and greet downtown. Danielle suggested I should show up and surprise him, and she even cleared up Roger's schedule that day so we could go on a date after the event. Wonderful, Danielle! That day, I went to the meet and greet and disguised myself so perfectly that Roger wouldn't recognize me. He would be so surprised to see me here. To be honest, I don't like my man doing all those kinds of air kisses or hugs with fans, but, well, that's his job, and I should be understanding. Besides, I used to fall for these sweet gestures as a fan too. Roger, are any of these dating rumors true? Well, I just thought, I'm better off focusing on my work, and you guys. You're my true supporters. Unlike all the girls out there who only approach while chasing girls out there. I seemed to be out of breath among the excited howls of his fans, and I couldn't stay here much longer. I was sobbing as I ran outside, thinking about how Roger actually thought of me, of us, all this time. Suddenly, a car stopped in front of me. It was Danielle. I know it's hard being in love with a celebrity, but from a fan's perspective, that's something they want to hear from him. Of course, he can't speak up about his real relationship, but you can. You mean, right? What Danielle said got me thinking. Sophie teases me every day for dreaming about dating my idol, but this relationship is real, and I have the right to show off my love, right? So I posted my favorite picture from one of our dates on Instagram as a way to pour my heart out. Why did you break our promise? Why did you disclose our relationship? Things are a mess now. Underneath, it was the link to a tweet along with the title, "Young actor Roger is suspected of dating someone 10 years his senior." Oh, no. How did they find my photo that quickly? And worse, they must have mistaken the person in the picture to be my sister, Hannah. Well, at least my sister is on vacation, so she hasn't found out about this yet. I must fix this before she comes back, or else she's gonna kill me. I tried to contact both Roger and Danielle, but got no response. What to do? Roger is having a press conference for his new movie. I'll go there and talk to him directly. I used Hannah's pass card to rush backstage in the hope Roger would be there, but wait, there's only Mrs. Walker and her staff. "You better clean up this scandal immediately. Don't let it affect the conference. So annoying. That makeup artist must be using some tricks to take advantage of Roger. Now she will know what it's like to have her career ruined." Oh no, I can't let that happen. Please don't do this. It's not Hannah in the picture. It was me, her sister. Roger and I are in love. I never said I loved you, so stop making a fool of yourself. Sorry, Mom. I was just playing around with her because I was bored. Let me handle this. What? I thought he was different. Turns out he's just another jerk who uses fame to flirt with girls. We're over! I shouted, then sprinted out of there. For days after that, more Twitter videos were posted from Roger's alleged staff claiming he was arrogant and rude. It serves him right, I guess. However, I began to wonder about the fact that there weren't a lot of people there at those moments. Who could have been the one taking those videos? Suddenly, at him, I saw a bunch of comments telling everyone to cancel him. They even shared a picture of Roger going to bars and getting drunk the night before his apology press conference. Even though I was mad at him, I couldn't just switch off my feelings. So I took an Uber to the bar to find Roger, but because of my age, the security guard stopped me. As I was trying to find a way to sneak inside, I saw a familiar figure. It was Roger, sitting on the steps of the bar's back door. "Hey, you alright? I'll call Danielle to come pick you up." "No, please. I'm too tired of having bodyguards and a manager follow me 24/7. I just want to be alone now. I really do love you. I did what I did because I was so worried that my adoptive mom would harm you if she knew about us." "Your adoptive mom?" "Yeah, I'm not Mrs. Walker's biological son. She recognized my acting talent, so she adopted me when I was 11. Since then, I've been nothing more than a money-making machine to her." He then told me how his pure passion for acting was starting to be worn out by all these pressures of being a celebrity, especially now that he knew someone was behind all the recent scandals. I know who's behind it all, so do show up at the press conference as planned, and I'll take care of the rest. I waited for Roger to finish his apology for all the scandals. Then I went up to address the crowd. All of the rumors are fake. I know this because I'm the girl from the video. And the person who filmed and edited it to make it look bad was his manager, Danielle. I pointed to her, and amidst the gasps, all eyes and cameras shifted to her. What? This is slander. You have no proof. Then I held up my phone and played a video recording of Sophie admitting that Danielle was giving her the videos to upload on the internet. Actually, on the presentation day, the one of the so-called staff. So I confronted her right away and told her that she could be sued for defaming others. When I first heard the rumor about Roger having a girlfriend, I was blinded by jealousy, so I listened to Danielle. Given that she's his manager, how could I not believe that those videos were true? As his fan club vice president, I had my members' best interests at heart, so please, don't sue me. Fine, it was me. So what? I need to show Mom that Roger is not as special as she thinks she is. I knew Roger liked Harper, so I approached her and used the relationship to ruin his career. Then Mom would finally notice me. Whoa, what a twist, right? So what now? Well, Mrs. Walker and Danielle's true intentions were exposed for all to see. This cleared Roger of all the scandals, and his fans are all back together to support him again. He has a new manager now, and they have no problem with him publicly dating me. Oh, and as for Hannah, arriving back from her trip to discover she'd been dating one of her celebrity clients didn't go down too well with her. But it's not all bad, since she now has loads of bookings after this scandal. So if anything, she has me to thank for being more in demand than ever.
Hi everyone, I'm Amanda, and I'm 17 years old. This is a story about how I fell in love with my adoptive dad and the crazy things I discovered because of it. I need to be honest, as I've not had the easiest life, so when I fell in love with him, I probably wasn't thinking straight. My childhood was tough, as it was just me and my mom, and we lived in a slum in the city. My mom was pretty irritable, and she always took it out on me when she'd had too much to drink. I got used to it quickly, and hardly even cried when she did this. I just thought it was normal to be treated like this. But when I was 7, my mom got arrested for fraud and drug use, and she got sentenced to 10 years in prison. I'll never forget the moment the police broke our door down and took my mom away. It was late at night, and I just screamed and cried. All I had was my mom. Without her, I was nobody. Even though she hurt me when she was drunk, police said I wouldn't see her for a while. Social services placed me in an orphanage. Life there was even worse than in the slum with my mom, but I told myself it was only 10 years, and that as soon as my mom was released from prison, she'd come get me, and that by then, she'd have changed and wouldn't hit me anymore. But that's not what happened. After 1 year, an old couple came to adopt me. They'd been trying to have a baby for years with no luck. I thought maybe this was my chance to finally have a loving home. They cried with happiness when they saw me. But the minute we got back to their house, everything went downhill. They were both quite old and strict, and immediately sat me down and went over their set of rules. It was torture. Anytime I did one thing wrong, like accidentally breaking a glass or spilling some soy sauce on the table, they'd punish me by starving me for the whole day, until I complained that I was a spoiled little brat with no manners. To be honest though, I was relieved. They were old and grumpy, and we clearly weren't well suited. Years passed by, and when I was 12, I was adopted by another family who ran a small restaurant. I stupidly thought it would be better this time, and at first it was. But pretty soon, they started making me help out in the restaurant, doing all their chores and even the housework at home. I very quickly realized they'd basically just adopted me so I could be their maid. But there was one nice thing about this family, their son. His name was Jose, and he was 2 years older than me. Unlike his parents, he was actually super kind. He would often steal food from me from the kitchen and even helped me finish the chores. But one time, his mom saw Jose helping me and thought I'd forced him into it. She was so angry at me, she took me straight back to After those 2 disastrous attempts at being adopted, I thought I'd never find a family who actually wanted me. I pretty much gave up all hope and resigned myself to the fact that I just have to endure the orphanage life until my mom got let out of prison. But then, one day, a man named James came to the orphanage to volunteer, and that's when my life changed. He looked quite young, around 40 or so, and he had a kind smile. Often, I'd catch him looking at me, and it made me feel quite shy. No one had ever paid me attention like this before, not even my mom. Then one day, the women who worked at the orphanage took me aside and told me that James wanted to adopt me. I told them I wasn't interested, and then I went to my room. Honestly, I was sick and tired of these foster families who just used me. Orphanage. When James came over, I got up off the swing and was about to leave when he asked if we could sit and talk a little bit. I was really hesitant, but he had such a kind face, and I felt bad being rude. He then showed me a photo of a woman and a child, and I couldn't believe how much the child looked like me when I was younger. He told me that they were his wife and his daughter, but that they had died in a car accident 8 months ago, and that he still couldn't get over the loss. So he'd been coming to the orphanage to volunteer, and now he felt ready to adopt someone. Then he looked at me and said,
"As soon as I saw you, Amanda, I knew you were the one I wanted to adopt."
I didn't know what to say. I felt so sorry for him, and I knew what it felt like to experience loss. So I told him I'd be happy if he wanted to adopt me. He was so excited, and the very next day, he came to pick me up and take me to my new home. I was quite nervous, but as soon as I saw how cozy the house was, covered in family photos and with a nice bedroom for me, I knew I'd made the right decision. James was the perfect adoptive dad. He was polite and kind and always listened to me. He didn't make me do chores himself. And for the first time in years, I was happy. He made me laugh so much. Finally, life was good. But there was just one little problem. You see, I was a teenage girl, and the more time I spent with James, the more I started to think I liked him in a way that wasn't appropriate for a relationship between an adoptive dad and his daughter. One night, he was getting out of the shower, and he'd left the door open. I saw him standing there, wearing a towel around his waist, and I couldn't take my eyes off him. I knew it was wrong to be looking, but I just couldn't stop. Then one day, he was doing some gardening, and he hurt his back. I offered to give him a massage, and he was so grateful. As I rubbed his back with oil, he said to me,
"Oh, Amanda, your hands are so soft. I haven't felt so comfortable in a long time."
I was glad he couldn't foot massage, but I said no because I didn't think I'd be able to handle it. I liked him so much. He asked if he could read me a bedtime story. Even though I was 16, he said he'd always read to his daughter and he missed it. So I said sure he could. And then, you won't believe it, he fell asleep next to me, in my bed. I barely slept a wink that night. I just watched him as he slept and had to stop myself from reaching out to stroke his hair. I so badly wanted to tell him how I felt. But for now, this was enough. Just being close to him and getting to have a peaceful life together. Little did I know that our peace was about to be disrupted. A woman moved in next door to us. Her name was Rosa, and she was seriously gorgeous. After she'd unpacked, we went over to say hi, and straight away, I regretted it. She immediately started flirting with James, even reaching out and stroking his arm as she said, "Oh my, look at those muscles. I'll need your help setting up my kitchen, if you don't mind." James just laughed and said he'd be happy to help. As we walked away, I looked back and saw Rosa checking out James, and I knew she was going to be trouble. And sure enough, after that first meeting, she kept popping up. The next day, she asked James to help her fix a light bulb, and then a few days later, she came over with a plate of muffins to thank him. She never really spoke to me. She only had eyes for James, and I didn't like it one bit. Was she trying to steal him from me? The more she hung around, the more jealous I became. Everything had been perfect until she turned up, and now I was so scared I decided there was only one thing for it. I had to tell him how I felt. I was pretty sure he had feelings for me too. I had to act quick before Rosa made a move.
Hey, it's me, Kat. I'm back to fill you in on the next part of my drama-filled life. So, me and my mom have never got on that well. She hates my tomboy ways and wishes I was a girl. So when her new fiancé Max moved in with his Barbie doll daughter Taylor, she even told me that she couldn't love someone like me and that I should grow up. How could my mom say that to my face? And especially in front of that little brat Taylor? I was so angry that I shut myself in my room that night and skipped dinner. But then, around 3 a.m., my stomach wouldn't quit growling, so I snuck down to the kitchen, and surprise, surprise, there was no leftover food for me at all. Great. Clearly, they didn't view me as a part of this family anymore, and wanted me to starve to death. I couldn't fall back asleep after that, so as soon as the sun came up, I called my best friend Harry up early. He answered the phone half asleep. "What?" I told him to rise and shine, as I needed saving from my nightmare of a home life. Oh, and I also told him to bring food. He muttered out "Yeah, fine." At least leaving early meant I wouldn't have to face Mom and Taylor. As soon as I got into Harry's car, he threw me a sandwich and asked what was wrong. And I told him how Taylor's trust him to make a joke out of my distress. Anyways, I told him everything that had happened while munching on the sandwich. He replied, "Come on, Kat. Like you're gonna let some 16-year-old get the better of you? How about I come over after school and suss out the situation? I'll fight off this kid for you." I jokingly replied, "Okay, I guess that might help keep the peace, as for some reason my mom seems to like you." So Harry came around, and naturally, my mom was all over him, telling him how handsome he is and demanding he stay for dinner. Talk about consent to me. Hello? I was still in the room. Then Taylor arrived home all shiny-haired and girly. I swear my mom's face lit up just by seeing her. And worse still, so did Harry's. Ugh! Oh, Harry, have you met Taylor? Kat's sister. She goes to the same school as you guys.
Hi, Taylor. I've definitely seen you around, but I didn't know you were Kat's sister.
Taylor replied,
Nice to meet you, Harry. Are you Kat's boyfriend?
We all burst out laughing. Then my mom chimed in, Honey, I wish, but no. Your sister seems to be allergic to love. But you two would make a lovely couple. What on earth? They both laughed, and Harry replied,
I'd love to, but such a pretty girl like Taylor wouldn't lay an eye on me.
Great. Thanks, Harry. As if Taylor isn't big-headed enough. I slyly kicked Harry's leg and gave him a dirty look. After dinner, me and Harry went to play video games in my room. As soon as I closed the door, he told me that Taylor seemed all right. Was he blinded by her Barbie looks or something? I was so mad that I slammed down my game's controller and told him he sucked. Ugh! Why did everyone treat me like such a joke? So, what if I didn't dress up girly? I still had feelings. Boys' soccer team, and he was so talented. I totally swooned out loud when he scored 3 goals in a row. I usually didn't like jocks. As a member of the girls' soccer team, our teams often trained together, and I had to put up with them showing off to impress girls, while in reality, they couldn't actually play, and they skipped practice all the time to go partying. Garrett was different. He totally shined amongst those useless guys. I took the initiative to talk to him. Turns out, Garrett and I had loads in common. We instantly clicked and talked non-stop about soccer, skateboarding, and other stuff. Okay, so there was one problem. He seemed to be interested in the cheerleader type of girl. Once he even admitted his celebrity crush was Selena Gomez. I definitely wouldn't change who I was, but maybe a little makeover wouldn't hurt, right? I told Harry about it, and he just told me it was stupid, and he wasn't really supportive, which was strange for him, but whatever. So Harry worked evenings and weekends at the burger joint in the mall. I knew it was just so he could check out the girls going into the clothes shop opposite. I knew if I was going to win Garrett's heart, then I'd need to change my style, so I started visiting Harry more often at work. I'd sit there munching on free fries while watching the girly girls shop, so I could get the gist of the in trends and stuff. Then I stole my mom's lip gloss and some glittery eyeshadow and put it on for school. I even started wearing this plaid purple skirt Mom bought for me. I mean, at least it was sort of edgy, right? Though I had nothing other than my collection of oversized tees to go with it, but whatever. It was girly enough. OMG. Wearing a skirt is hard work. I couldn't run as fast or jump up to grab something off the top shelf. I also kept on forgetting I was wearing a skirt and sitting with my legs apart. Oops. My plan was working, though, as Garrett started sitting with me and Harry at lunch. Oh, and one time when I was struggling to run in a skirt, he passed me his jacket to tie around my waist. It gets even better. He invited me to his soccer team party. OMG! Talk about hitting the jackpot. This meant he liked me, right? That was it. I decided that the party will be my grand finale. I'd get a total makeover and confess my feelings to him while there. Finally, the day of the party arrived, so I put my awesome plan into action. Okay, so Mom's lousy makeup just wasn't cutting it, so I went into the drugstore and used up the testers. I even packed a pair of Mom's high heels with me. Now all I needed was a dress. Obviously, I wasn't going to buy one for keeps. No, I'd wear them for the party and return it the next day. All of my spying taught me one thing. Floral print was the in thing right now. So I bought this flowy floral dress in my size and went to the mall restrooms to try it on, so I had more privacy. I put the high heels on and zipped up the dress, but it seemed a little tight. Jeez, talk about tiring. I could barely reach the zipper on my back. After, 5 minutes of struggling, I was impatient and used up all of my force to pull it up. Done. Finally! But, uh-oh. My hair was stuck in between the zipper! Ugh, stupid long hair. I began to panic. I was completely stuck. Harry was on shift in the burger joint, so I sent him an emergency message. He sent me 5 crying with laughter emojis back, but He also said he'd be straight over. I couldn't expect him to come into the girls' restrooms, so I had to try and walk out into the mall foyer. My hair was stuck, so I had my face up to the sky, and every step was shaky due to the high heels. My 2 arms went straight out to navigate since I couldn't properly see the way. I must have looked like a zombie. People were whispering and laughing. It flustered me, and I tripped. The laughters were even louder now, and I couldn't even get up. I laid there in a weird position, feeling so helpless as anger and embarrassment filled me up. Thank God I heard a familiar voice.
Kat? Are you okay?
Harry to the rescue. Finally! He shooed everyone away, took the heels off my feet, and helped me get up. Then he said,
Oh my God, Kat. What have you done? Seriously, why are you making a fool of yourself just because of some jock? You've lost yourself, Kat.
He kept on grumbling as he tried to fix the zipper. Great! As if I wasn't already miserable enough. He was treating me just like my mom did. I was so angry, I pushed him out of my way as soon as he was done with the zipper, then stomped off. I was so mad. I washed all of the makeup off my face, changed back to my normal clothes, and went home. No more party or whatever. I was done. Ed. What? I never wanted to see one of those evil things again. I grabbed the dress and stormed downstairs and started screaming at Mom. I won't wear this. I hate it. I will never be like Little Miss Perfect Taylor, so please stop. I expected Mom to yell back, but to my surprise, she didn't. She told me that Harry had messaged her telling her what had happened. Oh my God, Harry, you snitch! I pulled out my phone and was about to dial the number to yell at him. Mom stopped me and continued. He's worried about you, honey, so he asked me to help you out. I saw this dress in a shop the other day and bought it for you to wear to my wedding, but I think today is a special occasion too. Put it on and go tell that boy you like him. Mom hugged me. Wow, talk about an emotional roller coaster. I was so touched and embarrassed about my thoughts and actions, so I agreed to let Mom help me curl my hair and apply my makeup, and I wore the dress she bought. I actually looked pretty cute, not gonna lie. She looked so happy and wished me good luck as I walked out of the house in ballet pumps, not high heels. Those things are evil. The party wasn't till later, so I texted Garrett and told him to meet me at the coffee shop around the corner. Everything was set. There's only one last step left. Hey, Kat here again. Are you ready for the next part of my story? If you haven't seen the first 2 parts, then what are you doing? Go and watch them right now. But if you have seen them, do you remember what happened to me? I'm a tomboy, a fact which my mom hates. Then her fiancé Max moved in with his girly daughter Taylor, and Mom clearly favored her over me. If this wasn't enough to deal with, I was then in an embarrassing situation at the mall while trying to be girly to impress this cute guy called Garrett who's into girly girls. So after the rescue of my best friend Harry and some help getting ready from my mom, I arranged to meet Garrett at the coffee shop so I could tell him exactly how I felt about him before his soccer team party. As I walked up the street to meet Garrett, I felt so happy. I'm sure it would be a surprise for him to see me dressed all girly, and he'd be into it. Then we'd kiss. Wow, that sounds great. I was the first one there, so I grabbed a hot chocolate and waited. Geez, that 5-minute wait felt like 5 years. Then he strolled through the door looking so casual but cute. He looked me up and down and then said,
Kat, you do know the party later is just a casual hangout?
I kept my cool as I replied, Oh, this old dress, chance, either now or never. So I just came out with it. Look, Garrett, I think you're cool. Really cool, in fact. I have a crush on you. No, I think I like you a lot. He looked a little flustered, but surely this was totally normal, as he was just digesting my words, right? After a few minutes of silence, he gave me an awkward look as he said,
Kat, I think you're great, but you're not my type. I just see you as one of the boys.
I'm not his type? And he just sees me as a boy? I sat there completely heartbroken. Each word he said felt like a sharp knife stabbing into my little heart. I immediately stood up and asked him, "What, you don't think I'm a girl? I'm in a dress, for goodness sake. If I'm not girly enough for you, then who is?" He seemed a bit confused by my question, then reluctantly replied, I'm into gentle girls who need me to protect. Like Taylor, for example. She's your sister, right? Could you help me and Taylor become a couple?"
Now he was admitting to me that he liked that Barbie doll?
I yelled at him. "You have to be kidding me. Out of all the girls in the world, you like Taylor?" Then I stormed out of there, relieved that I'd worn ballet pumps over evil high heels. I arrived home to the smell of freshly baked scones. Then I saw my mom and Taylor baking together in the kitchen. I wasn't in the mood for cooking with Barbie hour, so I slammed the door shut and stomped up to my room. My mom appeared and shouted up the stairs to me, "Hey, honey, how was your date? Why are you back so early?" Seriously, it was pretty clear from my door slamming that it hadn't gone well. Why did she feel the need to humiliate me in front of Taylor, of all people? Get real, Mom. I'm clearly upset. But then, what do you know? You only care about your shiny new daughter, Taylor. I ran into my room to change out of that damn dress I was wearing. Then I threw it down the stairs at her and yelled out, "It's your dress, so take it back, and play dress-ups with her instead." My mom looked hurt, and at first, I felt a little bad. But then she shouted back, "Why can't you just act like a normal girl and grow up? If you stopped being so selfish and made an effort with your appearance, your date might have gone better." Then Taylor continued, "Don't be too much for Mom. She means well. If that boy doesn't like you, then that's your issue, not hers." What the hell? How dare this nobody blame me? And why was she calling my mom Mom? I didn't call Max Dad. Ugh, she was the worst person in the world. I hated her. I wanted her to go back to Barbie Land and never come back. I stormed out of the house and took the bus to my dad's house. I tried to hold back my emotions so that I wouldn't burst into tears, but honestly, I had nothing. Garrett had brutally rejected me in favor of Taylor. I was still in a mood with Harry, and Mom had made it clear I was an embarrassment to her. The worst part was Harry had been right. I had lost myself. I was not myself anymore. I showed up at Dad's, and as soon as he opened the door, I burst into tears and hugged him. I told him everything and begged him to let me live with him. Dad tried to analyze everything for me. After a while, I calmed down and realized that, okay, maybe I was a bit sassy with Mom. Then Dad said, "Actually, Kat, there's something I wanted to tell you. I really still love your mom and want you to help me get back with her." Whoa! I wasn't expecting that, but I was totally down for helping him. Goodbye to Barbie Taylor and hello to a proper family. Dad allowed me to stay for the night to let the tension between Mom and me calm down. His apartment was light without Mom moaning at me that I needed my beauty sleep. I arrived home the next day to Mom and Max cleaning the house together. They were laughing and joking around and, yeah, okay, they looked really happy together. But Dad deserved this happiness more, right? I greeted both of them, but only Max replied. My mother ignored me like I was invisible. She must have still been mad at me. So all this tension wasn't a part of my get Dad back with Mom plan. So before I left for school, I walked up to Mom, said sorry, then kissed her on the cheek. Cheesy, but worth it. Then, as I was rummaging through my locker at school, I felt someone pat me on the shoulder. I turned around to see that it was Harry. "Kat, I'm sorry," he said. I turned around and continued to look through my locker. I'd forgiven him already, but I wanted to make him sweat a bit first. "Come on, Kat. I won't be able to study if I know you're mad at me, and my grades will suffer." I laughed and said, "Take me out for ice cream after school, and I may consider forgiving you." "I think I can manage that." He smiled at me. After school, we went to the ice cream shop nearby. My mood was so good, and I told Harry all about my plan to get Dad back with Mom. He wasn't so sure about it, but regardless of this, he promised to have my back. So, I had an ally. and the plan to heal my parents' feelings officially began. First, I invited Dad over for dinner. Mom wasn't overly impressed, but she couldn't say no. After all, he was my dad. During the meal, I went on about past stories, such as the time we all went on vacation together for my 7th birthday, and Dad lost his swimming trunks in the sea. My parents and Max just laughed, but I could make out the annoyed look on Taylor's face. After the meal, we watched TV together, and Taylor volunteered to make drinks for everyone. Then she brought out 5 glasses of orange juice. Dad took a large sip of his, then immediately spit it out all over his clothes and rushed to the toilet. Turns out she'd put mustard in my dad's glass, but neither Max nor Mom said anything about it. Damn little Taylor. Then one night, when I knew that Mom and Max were going on a private date, I deliberately hid Max's key. By the time they found them in the plant pot 2 hours later, they'd missed their time slot. Talk about success. Another day, my mom suggested going on a picnic, so I immediately called Harry and my dad and invited them to join. Then, while we were in the park waiting for Harry to show up, I saw Garrett walking over, hand in hand, with Taylor. Talk about awkward. Garrett couldn't even meet my eye, and I just wanted the ground to swallow me up. Mom asked them how long they'd been together. She said 2 weeks, so I did the math. OMG. That meant they got together on the day I confessed my feelings towards him. Whatever. I was so over Garrett. Although I have to admit, I was relieved when I saw Harry walking over with a basket full of my favorite foods. Taylor kept asking Garrett to feed her. Ew. It was so awkward. When Harry saw me staring at the couple with bullet-like eyes, he so quickly passed me a slice of chocolate cake. A while later, I asked Harry to help me take some photos. Then I quickly dragged Dad and Mom to take family pictures. I could see Dad was enjoying standing next to her, and I heard him tell her that she looked beautiful. Good one, Dad. Only Taylor wasn't having any of it. She immediately led Max over and pushed me out of the way so he could stand next to Mom. I stood next to Taylor, and before Harry counted to 3, I flipped Taylor's hair and deliberately stood over her. She glared at me. But I'm on top of the world, sucker! Anyway, I felt so good after that picnic, and I even thought that the day when Dad returned home would be soon. But a few days later during dinner, Mom and Max went on about what starters they wanted at their wedding. Dad! I immediately showed my annoyance, skipped my half-eaten meal, and stormed up to my room. I sat in my room, looked back at the picnic photos, and thought about my next plan. Then I heard a knock on the door. It was Max.
Kat, I have something important to tell you,
he said with a sad voice. Uh-oh, this couldn't be good, could it? Hey, Kat here. Again. I hope you're not bored of me yet. As if. Anyway, here's a recap of the last part of my story so far. In the last episode, I confessed my feelings to my crush, Garrett, but he rejected me because I was not girly enough for him. To make it even worse, he said he liked Taylor and wanted me to help them become a couple. I couldn't believe it. I was so furious that I argued with my mom. Then I came to my dad's house, and that's when my dad asked me to help him get back with Mom. Apparently, I jumped at the chance and immediately put my healing family relationships plan into action. Okay, he led me out to the garden. I followed him and kept wondering what he wanted to talk to me about. Did he know I wanted to split him and my mom up, and he was going to scold me for it? No way! As soon as we sat down, I asked him immediately, "What's the matter?" He just smiled.
I wanted to chat with you, so that we could understand each other better.
I gave him a doubtful look. Why did he suddenly care about me? Jeez, this was so awkward. Then Max said,
Kat, I know that you want your parents to get back together.
He hesitated a bit, then continued,
I don't dare to say that I'm better than your dad, but, we are all from broken families, and I just want to give you, your mom, and Taylor a happy home life. So I hope that you'll accept me and give me a chance.
I didn't know how to reply to him. Okay, so I knew that Max truly loved my mom, as he always looked at her affectionately. But
what about my dad? He was miserable without Mom, and if given the chance, he would definitely make us happy. As for Max, I was sure he'd have no trouble finding someone else. Okay, so I might have said Max was kind, but the reality was he wasn't right for Mom, but my dad was. I mean, they had history, and they had me. The wedding day loomed closer, and Mom and Max grew even soppier together. I wanted to cancel the wedding, but it seemed impossible. But then I realized something. Maybe I could somehow delay it? I had thought seriously for a few days. Then I came up with an idea. I would pretend to break my leg. If I couldn't come to the wedding, my mom had to postpone it, right? OMG! I was absolutely a genius. I immediately messaged Harry and told him about my bright idea for my Get Dad Back with Mom plan. Naturally, he replied I was bonkers, but he agreed to help me. He even told me how that could work, as his cousin was a doctor and he would definitely help us. Awesome! However, to make this plan work, first of all, I had to appear helpful so Mom wouldn't suss me out. So I kept asking her about the wedding preparations and said that she could tell me if she needed help. At first, she was quite surprised, but then she looked so happy and satisfied. Maybe Mom thought that her beloved daughter had finally grown up. That day, after school, I put the plan into action. Of course, with the help of Harry's doctor cousin. His cousin was really helpful. After bandaging my leg, he even gave me advice on how to walk, like I had really broken it. Then Harry took me home. When seeing me, my mom was totally terrified. She kept asking us what had happened. Harry lied that during a game of soccer, I'd tried to steal the ball and fallen awkwardly on my leg. I hadn't wanted to worry them, so he'd taken me to his cousin's clinic. I'd fractured it, and it would take me about 4 weeks to recover. His story was so real that I almost believed it myself. I really missed practice, and lying on my bed all day wasn't as fun as it sounded. My bedroom was on the 2nd floor, so my mom always brought me food so that I didn't need to go downstairs. One day, after lunch, I was so bored that I decided to go over to my desk to pick up my laptop and play some music. While I was standing and swinging to the rhythm, I immediately leaned on the desk and said, "Ay." She rushed to help me and asked what I was doing. In my most pitiful voice, I said, "Mom, I wanted to practice walking for your big day, but my leg just hurts so much, and I'm not sure I'll be able to cope with the wedding." She stroked my hair and said, "It's okay, honey. Harry will come with you to the wedding and help you out." I leaned on her and sobbed. I can't do it. You see, Taylor will look like a princess, and I'll look like an Egyptian mummy. I wish there was some way the wedding could be delayed for a bit. Oh my God, forget soccer. I needed to join the drama club. The next day, she came into my room with Max, and she told me that they had some big news. "We can't contemplate getting married without you there, so we've decided to postpone the wedding until your leg is better." OMG. I'm a genius! But I tried not to look too excited. As soon as they left my room, I messaged Dad and told him the amazing... Dad dropped in all the time, with the excuse that he wanted to check on me. But the problem was that Max was always around, so Dad couldn't have any private time with Mom, as her room was on the 1st floor, so I could walk around the house and get some fresh air. She agreed Taylor and I could switch rooms. But I begged again. No way! Taylor stole my crush, and now she's gonna live in my room? It's too much to even think about. Why don't you tell Max and Taylor to move out for a while? At least until my leg's better. Whenever I see Taylor running and dancing around, it bugs me out. She's so insensitive. Mom looked flustered, but she tried to keep calm and persuaded me to exchange the room with Taylor, just until my leg was better. At that point, Max came in. Turns out, he'd overheard our conversation. He turned to her and said, "Mary, I think Taylor and I should go and stay with my parents for a while." Then, when I felt a little bad, but when I saw him kiss her on the top of the head, I just felt annoyed. Mom belonged with Dad, not him. That night, while I was lying on the bed and texting Harry, Taylor stormed in looking furious.
I took my eyes off the phone, smirked, and said, "Oh, it's nice of you to take time out of packing to visit me." "Stop this! Because of you, the wedding has been delayed, and now you're kicking us out? Newsflash, this is my home too, Kat. The world doesn't just revolve around you." I stared at her. OMG. Why couldn't she just shut up and leave already? I told her, "You can stay here, but first, you need to break up with Garrett." She was furious and ran out without saying anything. Finally, Max and Taylor moved out. Plus, Harry told me that Taylor had broken up with Garrett. Oh my god, that feeble girl was so docile. Life was pretty awesome, but I couldn't wait to lose that itchy bandage. Dad popped by loads to take care of me. He even brought some cherry cakes and tulips, my mom's favorites for her. I felt like after all these storms, my family were finally reunited. Then, after a whole agonizing month, it was time for the bandage to go. Of course, I couldn't go to the clinic with my mom, so I came up with some excuse that I wanted to eat her clam soup when I got back. It worked, as she called Harry to go with me. When the bandage was removed, I cheered, and Harry laughed at me. "I hope it was worth it, Kat," he said. "It totally was." I winked at him. I arrived home expecting Mom to greet me excitedly, but she wasn't in the kitchen. I heard voices coming from upstairs, so I stealthily put my ear against the door and heard Mom's voice. "We're over, Satya! How can you beg for me back after what you did?" Then I heard Dad reply,
"I'm so sorry. It was all my fault. I should never have forced you to have an abortion just because the baby was a girl. But you know the pressures of having a son in India. Moreover, then there were your complications. You had one chance at having a baby. That's why I thought holding out for a son would be better. But that was the past. I've changed now. I love you."
"Bothering us and leave us alone." What? Turns out, Dad had never truly supported me. He just wanted to have a son? He was the one who didn't want me to exist in the world. All along, he was the villain, not Mom. I felt disgusted. I slumped in front of the door and couldn't believe what I was hearing. It felt like my whole life had been one big stinking lie. Hey, Kat here. I don't want to alarm you or anything, but this is the final part of my story. I hope you'll enjoy it. And here's a reminder of what's happened in the last part. You remember, my dad told me surprising news that he wanted to get back with Mom, and he needed my help, don't you? Of course, I jumped at the chance and immediately put my healing family relationships plan into action. I knew I had to somehow delay Mom's wedding to Max, so I pretended to break my leg. My plan was totally working, as not only did they postpone the wedding, but Max and Taylor moved out to give me time to heal. I was very satisfied because everything was going as I planned, when suddenly, right on the day I had the bandage removed, I arrived home to hear the awful truth that shocked me to my core. My dad didn't want me to exist in the world because I was a girl. As soul-destroying as it was, I continued to listen to Mom and Dad's conversation. I heard Mom say, "I will never forgive you and never forget the moment you wanted me to get an abortion. Never! So don't think I will ever let you come back to this family." I'd heard enough, so I ran into my room. It all made sense now. No wonder Dad supported my tomboy style, because he desperately wanted a boy. As for my mom, she tried to make me dress up like a girl to get revenge on him. Feeling unwanted and unloved, I packed pads, but that option was out, obviously, so where could I go? Then I thought about Harry, so I called him to pick me up, and I just told him that I felt really bad right now and wanted to run away from home. Without knowing what the exact problem was, he showed up and drove us to the beach. He bought us loads of snacks, and we sat there in silence and watched the sun go down. Then Harry turned to me and said, "Are you ready to talk about it now?" I sighed, ate a handful of Cheetos, then told him everything. I still can't believe it. My dad, the person I love the most, didn't want me at all. Then my mom just used me to make him suffer. Talk about exhausting. It's best if I disappear from their lives. It's not like I'm wanted here anyway. Harry listened. He looked shocked, but he didn't interrupt me. Then he patted me on the back and pulled me in for a big hug. It was weird because we never usually showed each other that kind of affection, but it didn't feel strange at all. Instead, I felt safe next to him. At this vulnerable moment, he's the only person I still trusted. After a long silence, Harry turned to me and said,
Who said you aren't wanted? I'm happy that you were born. I knew before. Kat, you're a brave and an amazing girl.
My heart skipped a beat, and I felt my face turn bright red. I never knew that Harry thought of me like that. Then he touched my hand and said,
And there's something you should know. I really...
Oh my god. I didn't know why my heart was beating so fast. What's he gonna say? But then, his phone rang. It was my mum. She'd been looking for me for hours and was worried sick. When Harry told her I was with him, and I was fine, she sounded so relieved. I'm not a blubber. I cried and couldn't stop. I let Harry tell her where we were. When Mum arrived, she rushed over and hugged me. Why didn't you tell me you were at the beach? I was so worried. Honey, don't you ever do that to me again. I hugged her and cried so loud. I didn't really know why I cried. Maybe because it was the first time we've ever properly hugged, and I could feel her love towards me, the reason why she'd divorced Dad. She wiped off tears on my face and said, Oh, sweetie, I kind of guessed you must have heard us fighting earlier. I'm so sorry about that. And now you know the reason why I was always so strict on you and wanted you to dress like a girl, to show, just like your father wanted. But Mum, you have to understand that I dress Harry, not because of anyone. If I change, it would mean that I don't live as my true self anymore. So, can you please let me be me, Mum? My mum smiled at me and replied, Oh, of course, sweetie. I'm so sorry. I forgot about your feelings. Can you ever forgive me? Of course, Mom. And then we cried again. Since then, things with my mom have improved a lot, but there was still some unfinished business I had to handle. Firstly, I had to swallow my pride and apologize to Max and Taylor. Harry came with me for moral support. We all sat down, and I apologized for being a childish brat. You're a good man, Max, and my mom truly loves you. I would be grateful if you and Taylor would be a part of this family. Can you two please come back? I said. He looked shocked for a moment, but then he smiled at me and said,
With pleasure. I miss your mom so much, it's driving me crazy.
Yep, he's been so miserable without her, Taylor added. I'm sorry to you too, Taylor. Do you need some help with packing? I asked her. Taylor smiled at me and replied, Sure, that'd be great. So, Mum and Max had a small ceremony in the end, although I still ended up wearing a dress, but hey, it was an exception for Mum's special day. It was a beautiful ceremony, and Mum looked amazing. Next, I had to make Taylor and Garrett get back together. I went to see Garrett at school and told him that it was all my fault Taylor broke up with him. He looked quite shocked, but at the same time, he was also happy to hear me say that. Well, that was such a relief. I felt much better now, knowing that I cleared up all misunderstandings between them. Then, when I was having lunch with Taylor in the cafeteria, he walked over with this enormous bouquet of roses, passed them to her, and asked her to be his girlfriend again. Taylor looked so surprised, but then she gave me a worried look. I smiled and said, It's okay. You two are meant for each other. She was so happy she hugged me. I guess it was good to see her happy. And last but not least, I had to finish off the beach conversation with Harry. Obviously, I couldn't let that slide that easily. I've been thinking about it a lot, wondering what could it possibly be. Geez, why does it feel like my whole body is heating up every time I think back to that moment? I asked him to come to the beach, where I prepared a blanket on the sand with 2 cans of Coke and a huge pizza. His face lit up when he saw the setup. We had an awesome time and didn't stop laughing, even when Harry teased me by reminding me how I'd worn a dress to impress Garrett. I looked Harry in the eyes and said, "Thanks. Thanks for always having my thing that ever happened to me. You're the only one who accepts me for who I am." He touched my hand.
I really like you, and I want us to be more than friends. Will you be my girlfriend?
Oh my God, this was crazy. Suddenly, I felt so shy, so I gently punched his arm and turned away, looking elsewhere so he couldn't see I was blushing like a tomato. Then I said, "Okay, fine, but it's just because I pity you." He laughed and hugged me. It felt so good being in his arms. Life was pretty great. Finally, but there was just one last issue to resolve. My dad. I went round to his place and we had a super long talk. He admitted he messed up and apologized for what he'd done in the past and for trying to get me to split Mom and Max up. He told me that it didn't matter if I was a boy or not. He was whirlwind, but it all worked out in the end. I have the best boyfriend ever and an amazing family. I've been through a lot, but all I'm gonna say is never change who you are just to fit into the norm or to please anyone. Be yourself and the right people will love the real you. If they can't accept you for who you are, then they're just not worth it.